My grandpa today, Robert Hucke. I've got some questions for you.
Okay.
Alright, why did you enlist?
Well, back in the late 60s, early 70s, I was in high school, and when I turned 18, I had to sign up for the draft. And as the draft was still on, and I had a draft number and a draft card, and my number was 235. And I was thinking, well, they only got up to about 180, I think, that year. So, and the next year, they weren't going to get up to 235. So, I didn't have a whole lot going on. I did have a partial scholarship to Wisconsin in wrestling. And I started thinking, well, it's only a partial ride. So, I have to have money for the partial ride and then the rest of it. And so I said, well, I'll just join the Air Force. It's a good branch of the service. I wanted to be a jet engine mechanic or a airframe mechanic. And just my luck, the war was still on, and they needed weapons troops. So I became a weapon mechanic.
Alright, how long did you serve?
4 years exactly. I went in December 5th of 71, and I got out December 5th of 75.
What was your job in the Air Force?
My job in the Air Force.
What did you do?
Yeah, I know. I started out as a weapons mechanic on F-106s, which is a fighter interceptor that carried a nuke that guarded the borders up at Wert Smith Air Force Base. They had B-52s and 106s. So, for the Air Defense Command. And then they pretty much did away with the Air Defense Command. So I transferred to Langley, Virginia. And at Langley I cross-trained on F-104 or F-4 fighters, the Phantom. And after I became proficient at that, became a crew chief, I was sent to Thailand because the war was still on. And I went over to Thailand. We had 98 F-4s over there, and I was a crew chief and for the bomb crew. And when we first got there, we worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, bombing the north.
Do you still keep in contact with some of the people you served with?
Yeah, I still keep in contact with a few of the guys. One of my best buddies that I went into, that I went up to Wert Smith, and I even went to Thailand and a couple other places with him, was Dave Dickens. And I go elk hunting with him every other year or so whenever we draw a tag. And there was a few other guys from around that I keep in touch with.
Did you miss home while you were in?
At first you do. When you're in basic training, you kind of look back and say, what the hell did I do this for? Because it's a real change of lifestyle. And then after basic training, it gets a little easier, and you get into tech school, and you start catching up with a bunch of guys that doing the same job and stuff, and you get to where you miss home, but it's a job. And then I got stationed at Wert Smith up in Michigan, and I did a lot of hunting and fishing and stuff, and it was like an 8-hour job then. The only place that it was really terrible was Southeast Asia.
How many different places did you go total?
Let's see. I was at Langley, Lackland, Wert Smith. I was at I was in Virginia. I was at Udorn, Thailand. I was in the Philippines at Clark Air Base. I was at Bitburg in Germany for a CDY for a NATO exercise. And I finished up at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico.
What kind of life skills did the service teach you?
Well, it teaches you personal responsibility. You're out there on your own. You're your own man. You gotta. Plus, they teach you a lot about the code of conduct. How to conduct yourself as a man without being, just a regular rude head all your life.
Yeah.
You can. It teaches you quite a bit about life. It's almost like football. It teaches you discipline and and respect. A lot of respect for officers and your superiors and everything. And for each other. It's a really good experience.
What was the hardest thing about being in the service?
Probably the hardest thing was a lot of the times, especially in Thailand, when you're separated and the weather was terrible.
Yeah.
You go through the monsoons. It was hot. It was 105 degrees out on the flight line. I tried to work nighttime most of the time, but that's when the cobras come out. There was one time I come out to a plane and I was going to hook up the headsets to the wheel well to talk to the guy up in the cockpit. There was a cobra in there. So I had to go over and talk to a Thai guard, and the Thai guard got a stick and come over and got the cobra out. But it was just so hot, so wet and miserable. It was just a terrible place to be. And then I went to Holloman, and it was out in the middle of the darn desert, Alamogordo, by White Sands Missile Range, and it was hot there too.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. And,
You bet.
that's it.